Slaney, it's a big one.
That's the most excited I've ever been.
Glen's Vodka, Premiership Manager of the Month, Ange Postecoglou!
Thank you, Jets.
How are you, big man, all right?
I'm very well, very well.
You're looking great, aren't you?
That's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Ange, how are you finding Glasgow, mate? Enjoying it?
Yeah, loving it, mate. You lot are very, very friendly, mate. Seriously, I bump into people in the street and they ask me over to their house for a cup of tea or dinner.
Don't go in, mate.
No, don't go in.
I haven't yet.
That watch will be swiped after in a minute.
I've resisted the temptation. No, it's been great. Everyone's been super friendly.
So that leads on to our next question. You fancy coming for a lunch with us up the West End one day?
Yeah, right, check. I'm busy at the moment, lads. You know,
international week, you're not busy. Gonna get out it.
Always busy.
And how much pride do you take in winning the Manager of the Month award?
Yeah, look, it's not I mean, of course it's a personal thing, but I just super pleased for everyone because we obviously got off to a bit of a rocky start and you see how it affects people all around the place, whether that's players, staff, your own family, and sort of winning it, even though it's only 1 month, you kind of think, oh, well, all those people, at least they're going to be happy, and they get something out of it. For me, mate, every day's, I love what I do. I've avoided having a real job my whole life.
Brilliant, isn't it?
So, those kind of things are just icing on the cake, but super happy for all the people who sort of work with me or alongside me when those things come along.
See, in terms of October, what would been the most satisfying performance for you? 2 big wins in Europe, weren't there?
Yeah, there was. But, I think just our consistency through it, because we had, before the last break, we hadn't won away from home for ages, and then we beat Aberdeen away, but then we had to back it up. I knew we had 3 tough away games in the league. So to go through those 3 games, having won all 3, you guys know how difficult it is to win away from home, irrespective of who you play. When you're Celtic, you're playing away from home in the Premiership, it's hard. So winning away from home and winning in Europe away, it was super pleasing.
Do you know what? This is totally for just my point of view. See the first 45 minutes against Betis? Now, I'm not sure if that was in October or not, but that's one of the best performances I've seen.
Yeah, that was last month, yeah. It was, again, I look back on that game because, we obviously got thumped by Leverkusen 4-0 at home, but even that game, we played some decent stuff. They were just too good for us in the big moments. But that first game against Betis, I thought, and I think the players got a real belief that, played a good side here and we're taking it to them in their own backyard. That was kind of when it started sinking into the boys that if we stick to playing this football, even against quality, we'll crack it at some point.
Because we always argue on the podcast. I know you watch it every Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
Religiously, religiously.
But we are always saying, would you change your style away from home and maybe try and go and get a result in Europe? But you said that you would never do that.
Well, I don't understand the question because people always say, well, you need a result. Would you change your approach? I said, well, I need a result every week, mate. So if I was going to change it just for that game, if that guarantees me a result, then I'll do that every week. But it doesn't. What I do gives me the best chance of success. So if you're telling me I need to win this weekend, I'm going to go as super aggressive as I possibly can because that's who I am. That's how I coach, yeah.
I love him, eh? You're a legend.
That's the type of manager you need on it.
Mate, 100%. Are you surprised, though, that how quickly your team have responded to your style of play?
Look, I usually look, and you'll probably dig into the archives and you'll probably find some players who didn't enjoy playing under me. For the most part, I think I have a good sort of understanding with players where they, in their core, most footballers want to play this kind of football, I believe, right? I keep telling them when they're 10 years old, no one's telling them to track back and kick it long and don't take risks. You're just playing football. So I'm trying to create a system where it goes to that, where, you know what, you're going to have the ball, you're going to attack, you're going to be aggressive. Even if you're a defender, you like defending, you're going to defend in aggressive areas. So I think most players, that's what they want. Now, the challenge becomes as a manager is to turn that into something effective and successful, because again, players want to be successful. So I've never had a problem with getting it into players. It's then how quickly they kind of adapt and believe in it. And that's still happening. It's not fully there. I can still see sometimes, late in the game, they'll look over at the bench and saying, you really want us to play out again?
Do they do that sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's human nature, And look, there's plenty of times I've questioned myself. I'm going, oh, maybe I'll just ignore their look and just tell them that I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't see it, but I can't, So I say, no, play, keep playing, So we're still at that stages, but...
Because I asked you this as well, Ange, off camera. I told you about my kind of predicament at Peterhead, with third bottom of League One. Yeah. If you were to take that job tomorrow, you'd still play the exact same way?
Yeah, I would, because as I explained to you guys, is that, as a manager or in anything you do in life, you kind of try and gain as much knowledge as you can. And I've tried to do that. I've been doing this for 25, 26 years now as a manager. And as I said, you walk into a library, there's a whole array of books. I went to one section and I stayed in that section, and that is the section on playing attacking football, being aggressive. And, probably next to it, there's another sort of shelf with all the defensive stuff, and I just didn't look over there, So it's what I believe in. It's what I can coach. So if you ask me to go into a club tomorrow and say, look, this club, wants to be really strong defensively, play on a counter-attack, which is equally fine, and you can have a hell of a lot of success doing it that way, I can't coach that way.
So Celtic was perfect for you then, wasn't it?
I thought
we came through here, we were brought up in terms of you need to attack Celtic.
I thought it was. But I wasn't appointing myself to the position, but I'm kind of hoping that people saw that in the teams I'd managed and thought, you know what, it's a good fit. Because, and again, it's a little bit of a bane of mine, a little bit of an irritant that, I hear a lot of managers say, we want to play this way, and then I watch their teams play and I'm thinking, it's not happening, So, and look, there's always reasons they give for that, but I think you can go back to 1996 when I first took my first manager's job, and you'll see my team playing. It might be a primitive form, but there's a team there that's playing out from the back.
With the fullback still coming inside?
No, not back there. No,
what year did that come in?
That came in a bit later. So, that came in probably maybe 10 years ago. Back then, I was doing different things. I was doing different things with my midfielders and my wingers. But for the most part, it was always 4-3-3. It was always wingers being aggressive, strikers being aggressive. So that's always kind of been the underlying theme all the way through.
So you just on the field, sorry, mate, just because you said it, the fullback. What was it that clicked in you and thought this could work about fullback? Because in Britain, maybe Guardiola's done bits here and there, but I've never seen that, especially in Scotland.
He did it at Bayern, and there's other managers that have been doing it. For me, it was more about, so when I was a player, I was a fullback, right? And I hated it because I loved attacking. And it used to annoy me that they put me in the fullback position and I had to defend. I like scoring goals. I wasn't any good at it, but that's what I enjoyed doing. We had a coach, Ange Postecoglou was my manager, right? One of the greatest players of all time. And he just wasn't interested in defending at all. So we used to play back then in the National League for South Melbourne. And he used to tell our two wingers, don't come back. Just stay up there. Even if they're attacking with 10 players, you stay up there. Now, I was a fullback. So my winger used to stand on the halfway line. I'd have 4 players running at me. I'm going, mate, you're killing me here, right? So, but his thing was, supporters aren't here to watch you play. They're here to score goals, watch them play, do your job, give the ball. And from then the seed was in my head that, you know what, I want my attacking players in attacking positions as much as possible. And when you play your fullbacks in sort of your traditional areas, a lot of times you watch most teams, they're the ones most advanced, crossing the ball in or trying to take the opposition. And that's not their skill set. You want to see your wingers doing that. And you want to see your wingers getting into the goal. So to do that, bringing the fullbacks inside gives me numbers in there, allows me to leave my wingers sort of in advanced positions without having that anxiety that I had 5 players running at me to the fullback. Now with the fullbacks being inside, we've got a bit more cover. So that's kind of the basic premise of it. There's a little bit more.
That you're not going to tell us.
Yeah, I'll keep to myself.
So this style, was this all for your dad when you watched football with him?
Yeah, I've said that, I said that story a lot, that he was, I don't know, I mean, you guys might have a similar existence, but you're a bit younger than me. But my generation, our fathers, we didn't see. Yeah, when I go up to school, he was already off at work. I'd come home at night, I'd be outside playing. He'd literally come home for dinner, go to bed, get up next day, do the same thing, right? So they worked hard because they had to for their families. The only time my old man I saw his real personality, because people told me when he was younger, he was very social and people loved being around him. He was grumpy every day I saw him, but when we'd go to the football, he'd just come to life. He was a different person. And I clicked onto that as a young guy, and I thought, this game does that to him, so I've got to love this game so I can get close to my father. And invariably after that, he just influenced. He loved the entertainers. He would love watching teams that attacked. He hated Italian football back then because it was so defensive, and he that sort of rubbed off on me, that I sort of naturally went that way in terms of the teams I like to watch, the teams I like to support. And then obviously when I got into management, well, I was thinking to myself, all right, because again, while he was alive, he was my worst critic. I mean, I'd literally win things and show him the medal, and he would say, yeah, but the substitution you made was the wrong one.
No way.
Yeah, mate, he would never say well done.
And would you back at him?
As I got older, a little bit, but he's still your old man, mate. Yeah. Even at the age of 50, he was telling me what to do, and he was never happy, and it used to annoy me and motivate me at the same time. I'll show you, But every now and then, I knew he'd be happy because he wouldn't say much, and if the team played well. I mean, I've said the story. The last game he watched before he passed away, we won 8-2 in Japan. He would have loved it. I wasn't there because I was in Japan, he was in Australia, but my sister and my family were there, and I know he would have loved that. Seeing 8 goals, he would have been buzzing.
Did you say he used to get you up at 2 and 3 in the morning to watch football?
Yeah, well, Australia, that was our time. That was our sweet spot. If football was on from this side of the world, that was... So, you'd go to sleep. I'd be 8 or 9 years old, and even though I'd go to sleep, I kind of knew, at some point I'm going to get a nudge, that the game's on. So I wouldn't be totally asleep, even though as a kid you wanted to sleep. And whenever that nudge came, and I opened my eyes and it was dark, I loved it because I knew, there's a game on, He'd come, and he didn't want to watch it on his own, so he'd just get me up. Even if I had school the next day, he'd get me up, plonk me down, and for 2 hours we'd watch on a black and white TV some game from the other side of the world.
You and your dad watched something differently at that time?
You want something different, kind of get to that. So, very simple. Honestly, so, see, very similar to a player that a lot of people have compared to us, Kyogo. Did you know? Did you know him from Japan?
To be fair.
Have you already seen him playing in Japan?
Yeah. Look, I was probably the person least surprised by how well he adjusted to here and how well he's gone about it, because I witnessed it firsthand. Because again, as a manager, I was there for 3.5 years, and I set my teams up pretty much the same way here, really aggressive. And whenever we played against Vissel Kobe, my defenders used to tell me that he was always going to be the nightmare, because we play with a high line, we were really aggressive, and they just say his movement's just ridiculous. So I knew, and he was a bit more mature. He's 26, so even though he was coming from Japan, I figured he'll adjust, culturally as well. He was ready to make that move. So, you don't know how well people would go, but I was confident that he could come here and make an impact for sure.
See, you're talking about on the ball in terms of his movement. How important is he off the ball, how you want to play in terms of leading the press for the front?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's essential, Again, the way we want to play. And they have to, and you know what it's like. Most strikers love to run when we've got the ball, and when you haven't, they're just not interested, and they'll pretend to kind of press. He actually enjoys it, and again, I could see that there, that he loves that aspect of it. And I think what happened here was, I think it was the first game he played, he chased somebody down, and I think he didn't win a throw-in for us. I think it was a throw-in for them, but
massive cheer.
The crowd went up, and he just thought, okay, I've got something here. So I think he's fed off that.
Amazing.
See, Tony Ralston, I honestly can't believe where he's at, and he's been called up for Scotland. I mean, it's incredible what you've done with him.
Credit to him.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you boys will know. I mean, as a manager, all you do is really, and I said that to him. I said, I just open the door, mate. You have to walk through, and then you have to do it. It's easy for me to say that, I've changed Tony and he's become this player because of me, but I just gave him that opportunity and the framework, and gave him some information which he took on board. But the rest is him, and it's a lesson for all young players, because a lot of young players, or most players, will say, the manager doesn't like me. And for the most part, managers, all they can do is give you that opportunity. It's what you make of it. And he's one that, and maybe because of his recent experiences where he wasn't even sure about where his career was going. And again, as a footballer, that's probably everyone's biggest fear, is the uncertainty, the unknown. Have I got a career here, whether it's at this football club or anywhere else? And I think he was at that stage, and all of a sudden this door's open for him that maybe it was unexpected for him. And I think he just made up his mind that, once I walk through that door, I'm shutting it behind me and I'm not going back. And credit to him, he's done really well, and I'm sure there's more to come.
People say to me, like, fullback going in there, it's like a fish out of water. But see, when you play fullback, a traditional fullback position, you've got your pass to your wide player, or you kick it in the channel. when he moves in there, he's got 6 or 7 different options. So I think it almost makes the games easier for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, like people, you can have these debates endlessly, but I always think, and again, I played fullback, so it's a position that's close to my heart because I think it's the worst position on a football field. I hated it because inevitably I'd get the ball and I'd be on the touchline, so I can't go that way, right? Because that touchline's a defender. Most of the time, 90% of teams will say, when's the cue to press? When the ball goes to the fullback. Right. So every fullback's always got this target. So great credit to the ones who actually make that position, their own and thrive in it, because you need to be a really intelligent player, I think, to do that. But for the most part, a lot of fullbacks struggle because they're hemmed in. So by taking them away from there, I think it simplifies the game for them.
Right, and Tom Rogic, your favourite player?
What a player. I genuinely thought the last season his time might have been up at Celtic. I think maybe it was a team for Dubai that maybe was going to sign him. And we thought, because he really was, he was a magician when he first came under Rodgers and stuff. But I thought his time was, but again, another player that he's really come on this season again. Yeah,
and look, I've obviously got history with Tommy. I mean, he's an Aussie, and I had him in the national team.
Did you play him in the national team?
Yeah, I played him. Yeah, he was an important part of, because I mean, I saw Tommy come through as an 18, 19-year-old in Australia, and you could tell back then he is one of those players when the ball goes to him, inevitably people just shut up or get up off their seat and just watch the game because they know something's going to happen, and he's always had that. I think some of Tommy's battles is he's really hard on himself. He kind of, I always just say with the Australian team, he rarely smiled on a football pitch. He would score a goal and he'd scowl off somewhere, and I think when Tommy enjoys his football, that's when the best comes out of him. And, I've sensed that since I've come back in here that he's really enjoying his football now. And when he does that, he's one of those people, he's only 28. He's got plenty of years ahead of him. In fact, the best years could be ahead of him. If he keeps going the way he's going.
Another player who's nowhere near on the same level as Tom Rogic, but you also know Jackson Irvine. You can't mention him in the same level as Tom Rogic, but you spoke to him last night.
Spoke to him last night, and he said when they were away with Australia, they went away from home and the toilet was replaced with a hole in the ground, and everybody's got to the toilet there. But he said your team talks, not only your style. He said the players say wanted to run through a brick wall for him.
I thought you were going to say he done a toilet.
No, he didn't do the toilet, I don't think.
He's a good lad, Jackson, and what I love about Jackson is, and you'll come across these kind of players through your career, was that he's not your stereotypical footballer, and he's totally comfortable with that, and I love that.
Guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and also a very good player, and again, for me, did really well while I was a part of the sort of national team. So, but again, one of these guys, like I said, I enjoyed because he's a little bit different, For me, totally a massive generational gap there that I'll never understand some of the things they do, but total appreciation for the fact that somebody's so comfortable in themselves, being themselves. I love that, and I think, again, footballer I rate, but a person I rate as well.
But see, on that, how important is it not just to be a coach, but also have that man management side where you do connect to maybe a different generation?
Yeah, it is. Again, I'm not. Most people will tell you that, if we got on a plane, they'd shuffle the boarding passes because no one wanted to sit next to me. Whoever got the death seat next to me wasn't. I'm telling you.
Why?
Because I could sit on a plane on a long haul with somebody for 8 hours and not say a word to them, and it totally uneases people, particularly players. Oh, absolutely. I've done it many a time. And like I said, so they hated it. It was the death seat for them. So I don't think any of the players will ever say that, we got close to the gaffer or he was constantly having. I would never sit down and have a cup of coffee with him. I just think if you're going to have a cup of coffee, they'd want to have somebody more interesting than me, right? So, and I always like to keep a distance between me and the players, me and most people, because the biggest responsibility I have is to make decisions, right? And I want to make the best decisions all the time. And it's human nature, if you like somebody or maybe dislike somebody, that might. So I always keep that distance. But I'd like to think the players always know that I've got their back and I'll fight for them right to the end. I've always said to the players, I take responsibility for all the bad stuff that happens. And I think players appreciate that. They know where they stand with me. And it's kind of funny because whenever I meet up with them after I finish coaching with them, and I do actually have a conversation, they get really unnerved. They're like, what's he talking to me for? This is too long, just move along there, So, yeah, anyway.
Have you found the big differences here compared to the J League?
Look, football is always a little bit different. The football in the J League was a little bit sort of slower tempo and a little bit more measured and everything. Technically, it was very good. Here, it's a battle every week, irrespective of who you're playing. Yeah, and it's not just the speed, but it's a battle. Everyone's fighting for something, It doesn't matter. And every week, apart from the football, you're in for a fight because whether you're home or away, and particularly at Celtic, the team you're up against, they're gonna be at it. So that's the biggest difference, I guess. But I've tried to sort of approach football the same way wherever I've been, and it's worked well for me.
You talking about your injury, you said obviously you were a fullback.
Yeah.
At what age did you recognise that coaching was for you?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, as a job?
Yeah. Well, you both probably haven't read my book, but in my book I talk about the fact that my first coaching job I was 12 years old. I was at my high school, and our coach was the music teacher. So we'd train, and he'd sit there next to a pole somewhere and just be doing the homework for the day and getting everything done. And he wasn't even looking. We were just kicking about. I said, I'm not having that. So I took over, and I put the team in positions. I made myself captain. Now, for some bizarre reason, all the other 12-year-olds actually listened to me, right? I don't know why. I don't know what authority I thought I had. And it sat well with me, to be fair. I kind of enjoyed being the person in charge. And then, so when I started playing, I knew deep inside me I'd never get to the level I wanted to or fulfill my football dreams as a player. I kind of knew there was a limit to it. So even as I was playing, my thoughts were, if I'm going to fulfill all the dreams I have as a little boy to coach at to be at the highest level of football, management was my calling. Wasn't going to be a player.
And then how soon into that did you realise you were good at it?
I don't know if I realised I was good at it. I felt like it was a good fit for me. That again, for some bizarre reason, people listen to me. Right now, you don't question it too much when it happens, right? So I'll go home and I've got two young boys, 5 and 7. I can't get them to sit down and have a meal. They will not listen to me. They're scared of my wife, but me, they don't listen. But I'll walk in here and 30, 40 people will listen to what I have to say and believe in what I have to say. And I felt that from the first time I got into the role that, when I spoke, I could get people to believe in me more than anything else, not what I said, because what I say has always changed as you go along. But just to believe in me as a person, that I'm really passionate about what I do. I love what I do. I feel blessed to do what I do. And I think people relate to that. And because of that, I think I've had success.
I know you've been in big countries, Japan, Australia, but is the intensity here like nothing you've witnessed before?
Look, it's just different. I mean, it's just here, it's ever encompassing because it's daily, right? So, I mean, I've coached at a World Cup, right? And that's pretty intense. Yeah. When I still had to pinch myself. We were playing Holland, Australia, and they'd beaten Spain 5-1 in the first game, and we were next up. They had Van Persie, Robben up front, and we're Australian. We were a decent side, but nowhere near those levels. And I remember I was sitting on the sideline, and the game's about to kick off, and I kept waiting for somebody to tap me on the shoulder and say, mate, the game's starting to get off the pitch. Because I'm sitting here coaching in the World Cup. The whole world is watching right now. And I'm going, if this ends up being a disaster, I'm the face of it. So that's intense, you feel that. And I'm coaching my own country, so there's a real anxiety there. But so that never changes, but the intensity here is just daily. But I keep saying to people that I love that. It's what I love. If it wasn't intense, if it was kind of a flatline situation where I kind of knew the outcome or there wasn't pressure, I probably wouldn't do it. Yeah. I'd find something else to do. Not that I'm an adrenaline junkie. I'm not going to be jumping off buildings and stuff, mate. I keep my life pretty conservative, but that intensity of football, that unknown about football, that every week your whole existence is on a knife's edge, I love it, mate.
Yeah. Do you find it hard to switch off? Like you say, you've got two boys. See, when you're going home, you're still thinking about football constantly, or can you switch off?
It's still my passion. I can sit and watch a game and abuse the ref and abuse the coach like a fan. I can still do that. I don't watch it as a coach all the time. So it's not like it's something that's constant. I mean, of course, your family get you to switch off. But again, we're a football family. We kind of understand that's what Dad does, and they all enjoy it anyway. But I don't have trouble switching off. I don't want to switch off. I said, I've avoided having a real job my whole life, you know. I've got mates who have been very, very successful in their life, a lot wealthier than I have. But we grew up as kids, 10 years old, and they look at me and they don't let me complain one day. Even on my worst day, they go, mate, you're going to do what we dreamed of as a kid. So just shut up and get on with it. So I just don't feel the need to switch off or that it's too intense. I love what I do.
I've just got thinking, 2 young kids in the West End. He coaches kids in the West End.
Just the youth. You look shocked at that, by the way. Sessions are brilliant. Just play tag.
Oh, brilliant.
But you see, just before we go here, the last sort of 18 months has been rubbish, obviously with COVID and stuff, but you brought an unbelievable feel factor back to Celtic Park. Like, do you feel that special relationship you have with the supporters?
Look, I've been so sort of humbled by their acceptance of me almost straight away. Let's be fair, no one knew who I was here before I got here, you know. There'd be very few people who didn't Google my name to see who I was, but from the moment I arrived, and maybe it's just Celtic supporters, they like being told who they should like and who they shouldn't like. It almost got their back up when people were saying, well, who is this guy? And I think they backed me from day one, and it's been great for me, and it's a massive motivator for me to bring success to this football club because, you know, when they back me when they don't really know who I am, then if I can bring success to that group of people who supported me, then that feeling's going to be priceless for me. And
what will be a successful season for you, Ange?
I don't know, mate. I don't put measures on it. This club needs success, needs silverware. That's why I'm here, to bring trophies to this football club. And what that's going to look like in a year, time will tell. But you know, that's my goal. That's my ambition. Last
question: you get a bottle of vodka as well. Will you drink that, or can we have it?
Before my session,
before your session,
before you catch the kids. No, happy to pass it on, lads. No problem.
Ange, top man. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Great to meet you.